Hello and welcome. And in a previous video, we installed Windows Server 2019. And now I'm going to activate or enable the features of domain services. So I want to make this machine a DNS server, and I want to make it also a domain controller. So first of all, the default configurations are in there. This machine downloaded all the updates. Now I'm going to change the IP address to a fixed IP. I will also create a machine name. This will require some reboot of the machine. Then we will prepare the features of Active Directory, DNS, whatever service we want to use from this server. So let's log in. And you will see some pop-up messages like the server manager. You can actually disable that if you want to from the manage features. But now if we leave it as it is, and the first thing I need to do is local server. This machine name is just random. I need to change it to the machine name I have, WinServer19-1. I also want to create a domain later and make it part of that domain. But if you see, remote management is enabled, but remote desktop is not. So I will need to manage this one remotely. So I'm going to enable that. If you have to also take precautions of when you're doing that. And the IP address, it's both IP version 6 and IP version 4 through DHCP. I'm going to change that. Also the time settings, if you see the time zone, it's showing Canada, US, so that's a different time zone. I'm going to change that as well. So let's start with the IP address. That's the easiest. It doesn't need a reboot. So if we go to here, I will go to properties and then click Internet Protocol version 4, and the version 6 I will disable it from there, but go back to version 4, then go to properties. Instead of dynamic, we can change it to static. I'm going to give it from my local subnet. And here if I type the IP numlock 10.1.1.101, that's the IP I would prefer to give it to. And then 255.255.255.0, that's the default gateway, which is the little router I have here, and it's using 10.1.1.115. So I'm going to give it that router as an IP default gateway. So let's provide that IP 10.1.1.115. The DNS, this machine will be the DNS for itself. So I will give 10.1.1.101, but also I will provide another one I have here, 192.168.1.254. Or you can use Google as well if you want to. So that's all good. Now the machine has a static IP, but it's on the wrong switch port. So I'm going to change the NIC card it's part of. So if I go to the settings, I'm going to change from NAT to a custom network, which is called VMnet1 here, and that's all now set, but there's no network connectivity. So this machine now has a static IP, and if I go to CMD, and if we try to ping, and so DNS I gave actually will allow name resolution, and the default gateway will take the traffic. That router is doing NATing. I forgot. It's doing NATing. Everything is in place, so it should have access to the internet. Let's say google.com. So this machine, it's resolving the name. It's also reaching a different subnet than it is part of. So that's all good. The second thing we need to do is the time zone. Let's change the time zone. And the time zone here. Sorry, I need to go to the time zone. Then the time zone, I'll select London, JKL. So this is not organized. Oh, the time we need to see from here. UTC minus. So somewhere. Okay, somewhere here. Yes. So I'm going to change the time zone to Dublin, Edinburgh, Lisbon, London. That's all good now. That's now changed. So if you refresh here, you'll see the change coming up. So sometimes when you change it, it doesn't get updated quickly. The third thing I mean, is the machine name. That will need a reboot. So WinServer, so that's the machine name I'm going to change. And instead of that, we want to use WinServer19-1. That's the machine name. And domain, we'll create the domain later, but for now, we save it. This will need a reboot. Is there anything else we need to change? So if we close, restart later, so we have changed the machine name. If you refresh, that will appear as well. Sorry, after the reboot will appear. So nothing else we need to do. We can reboot the machine now. If you select here, power, restart, continue. Okay, so the machine rebooted, and if you now go to the local server, the machine has changed. The IP address is static. Remote desktop is disabled, and I need to enable that because I need to enable the access from remote. So that's fine. We can do the advanced settings, apply, and that's now saved. If you refresh, that should show enabled. Okay, this is the settings I want to do. In the second part, I'm going to apply some features here, create the Active Directory. You don't have those services now, but we're going to create services as features, I mean. So those features, the two main ones I want to do in here, actually three, is what certificate management. I want to use this server as a certificate management, and I also want to use it for domain services and DNS. And in another video, I will show you the setup of those features. Thank you for your time and see you in another video.